And we are live for the UK, the first Doctor Who episode post-Brexit. And it aired. I'm surprised. It aired. The world didn't fall apart, although we did have a little situation in London last night. So I hope everybody's okay. Hope you guys are doing good. Or actually a few hours ago, maybe. I don't know. My time's a little messed up. But welcome UK and every US viewer who probably, if you watch the show, you used a VPN, which is perfectly okay. And I am joined by two very special guests today. Unfortunately, the third female doctor, played by Starry-Eyed Girl, was not feeling well, so she will not be joining us, but she's modding tonight, so thank you very much. But let's get to the guests, which are way better than me. We'll start it with Bowlestrek, some Canadian representation here. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Plastic is bad, yo. How is everyone on this fine Super Bowl Sunday? And I'm such a not football fan, I didn't even know it was Super Bowl Sunday. But Gary, great to be here again. Long time no see. And hello to everybody in the chat.
Hello, and a very special guest. You know him, you love him. He is upper tier YouTube, the Critical Drinker. What is up, my friend?
That is a lie. Nobody loves me. So it's
really
good to be here, man. We haven't spoken for at least like 2 days, so it's good to be back again.
Hi, it's been so long. And we are here to discuss the latest stunning and brave episode of Doctor Who, which is in its series 12 for the 2005 version, episode 6, Praxeus. And we're going to give you our overall thoughts. I will start out by saying I found out that plastic is bad. I feel like I learned a lesson. I made sure to check my privilege prior to the live stream starting. It's a little low, so I have to go to the privilege station on the way back from buying some white bread. And not the worst episode of Doctor Who I've ever seen, but some of the worst acting I've ever seen. And they checked every diversity box in an alarming speed. I mean, before we finished the first 3 minutes, we had checked every possible box. And the thing is, I'm not supposed to notice this. If it was genuinely done, we'd be just watching a Doctor Who episode, having some fun. But we know that that's how they go about things nowadays. And it just rips you out of everything. And it makes it hard to watch Doctor Who, especially with writing like this. So again, not the worst episode of Doctor Who in the Chris Chibnall era I've seen. I would say that series 12 is an improvement, but it is not good still. So what do you think, Bowlestrek?
Well, an improvement if you're not taking canon into account. But yeah, no, we were chatting while we were watching the episode, and yeah, literally within 5 minutes, every box was checked. And I also noticed, and I think we said this, where except for the one astronaut guy that blew up symbolically and Graham, I think this is the first episode where there isn't, outside of them, that there isn't a single other character that isn't part of the BBC checklist. And what was funny is, you're right, this is close to the worst acting I have ever seen. It was also the most cringeworthy entrance of the third Doctor when she comes up running on the beach. So that was fun to watch. We didn't get a lecture at the end, but we did get a lecture mid-episode. So it was toned down a little bit, or as much as they can tone it down. Not the worst episode, but again, this is Chib's era Doctor Who. So the bar is so low that this is what we can expect. So, although keep in mind, this was also written by Pete McTeague, who wrote the best episode last season. It was Kerblam, the only one that actually felt like real Doctor Who. So once again, this will probably be the best episode of the season.
Agreed. And I wasn't aware he wrote it, but I agree with you on Kerblam. Until the very end, it did feel like a Doctor Who episode. Critical Drinker, what did you think?
Yeah, so I'm coming at this as someone who hasn't watched a huge amount of Doctor Who recently, but I've been checking in and out of the current season. It was 100% less of a disaster than I expected, and less so than Orphan 55, that's for sure. There's a real environmental theme this season. I don't know if it's just the episodes I happen to have watched, but we get lectures about the dangers of global warming and now plastic and stuff. Like, I'm kind of wondering what else they've got to cover. But on the positive side, like, it was quite a well shot. It was a good looking episode. It had a good sense of pace, like moving quite from location to location. It built up to like a half decent sort of finale where you actually felt like something was at stake. So it had that in its favor. As you say, pretty atrocious acting throughout. It's kind of obvious that they picked people based on their diversity quotas rather than their acting ability, and it shows. I'm thoroughly convinced that Yaz is probably the dumbest character in Doctor Who history. She continuously makes terrible decisions based on absolutely nothing, and everyone just seems to go along with it, which is weird. I'm sure you guys will cover this if we talk a bit more about the details of the episode. But the point where she decides to go back for a piece of technology that she knows nothing about because she decides it's really important made absolutely no sense. Overall, it was kind of the best of this season, I think, that I've seen. That's not saying much, though.
No. And don't forget, Yaz is apparently a scientist now, too.
Yes.
Well, everyone seems to have like scientific ability. Like, they can fly a spaceship. Like, when you see them near the end, they've all been assigned like stations within this alien spacecraft that they know nothing about, and yet somehow they know how to operate it. So that is impressive.
And, listen, they've done that before in Doctor Who, but they've always tried to make a minor effort, and the Doctor showing them how to work something. And that's happening less and less. And you have to be convinced it rips you out of it. And there's still the little things. And this might be I know this is left over from last season. You just notice that Graham is dumb. Ryan doesn't know. Doesn't know a term. I forgot. I wrote down the term. I can't because you watch these live, but I keep my.
Doesn't know what a pathogen is.
Pathogen. That's right.
Yeah, it's like that isn't that technical.
No, and even if he doesn't, Graham didn't either. And it's that little stuff that's left over. Now, I feel like this episode was proof that they dialed back the PC because I was expecting a lot more lectures, especially at the end about plastic. Which, but last time I checked, Doctor Who figures are made out of plastic, just to point out. I don't know.
Let's also not forget all the Series 11 DVDs and Blu-rays that nobody bought. So I don't. Yeah. I guess I think they're made of wood, though.
Yeah, or paper, or maybe grass, or repurposed humans. Who knows? That'll
microplastics you've got to watch out for, though, because apparently we're breathing it in at all times. So sounds horrific.
Well, maybe that's how the Romulans can scan a room. It's all the plastic molecules in the ground. Sorry to cross over episodes here.
I'm literally writing the script for my review of that, and that's the thing I picked up on. The magical bullshit device that lets you replay previous events from a molecule.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Get the hell out. The episode moved fast enough, but it was the acting because a couple of the actors were fine. But when you could predict the wokeness now, Bowlestrek and I were messaging throughout this entire thing. So as soon as I saw the Butch ex-cop, whatever, and he was worried about the astronaut, I shot back. I'm all boyfriend.
Yeah.
I was so naive. I was so naive. I was like, oh, is it his brother? Like, no, they couldn't have done it. Couldn't have done it.
Nope. So when you're playing like woke bingo with Doctor Who and winning, that's the way it is right now, and that's still the priority with this show. And considering by the way, we're criticizing a television show. Okay, people have a little perspective out there, especially with some of the criticism my friend Bowlestrek has gotten.
I've been having a great week. It's awesome. Although I did get a little testy on Twitter last night, so that was fun.
Considering what some people were saying, I'm not going to blame you for that. You can get as testy as you like. I mean, that's Twitter. That's why I spend 1 hour a day on it. That's it. Haven't spent my hour yet. So
absolute garbage dump.
Yes. And a time suck and a creative suck. But I'd like to thank everybody here for joining us, the Jodie bots and all. Thanks for the click. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. The good parts in this episode, we try to fish out the good in this. I would say Tolson Cole as Ryan has been better this year. Graham has got kind of taken a step back for me, and Yaz is still just completely useless. I could see her being like, the only thing that can make her run worth it is if she sacrifices herself at some point, maybe. And I guess we'll find out next season when we get that next season, and that's the next time we're going to see Captain Jack, by the way. That's a maybe. That's a definite maybe. They sounded very iffy on that in that Mirror article. But yeah, it was just another throwaway. What Drink said, this is the best episode of the Chibnall era, and it's another throwaway, forgettable episode. So when you do dial back the woke and the PC, which I'm not saying it was dialed back, but it was not as obnoxious, we'll say that, you're still left with just an old TV show now. And just kind of an old, boring TV show, and you forget about the episode. And I honestly can still remember almost every moment of most of Tennant's era, Eccleston's era, the early classic era. And I know it got a little disposable towards the end of the classic era, although it's freaking Shakespeare compared to what we're getting right now. But that's what we're left with, guys. I mean, it's just meh. What
I'm seeing with this is like, my expectations are so low. It's like watching a really dumb 4-year-old trying to paint a picture or a landscape portrait or something. Like, what they produce is garbage, but like you give them a round of applause anyway because it's somewhat recognizable. That's the fundamentals we're down to with Doctor Who now. It's like, have you got a story that kind of makes sense and it's got a beginning, middle, and end? Yes, you do. Okay, well done. That's better than what we've got half the time. It. In its defense, at least gave each of the characters something to do, because that's something that I've really noticed with the previous episodes is like the Doctor's got something to do and maybe one of the characters is involved in something, usually something that will humiliate them, but then everyone else has just kind of stood around with nothing to do because the script can't support that many companions. But at least this time they all had places to be and things to do, and that was something at least. Again, it's just like really basic stuff.
Well, I think one thing I will give credit where credit's due. There were scenes in the episode where it was atmospheric, and I think they did pull it off, which, let's be honest, they don't do that often in Chib's era Doctor Who. And Sigyn Akinola, the musician or the composer that unfortunately replaced the great Murray Gold when he got canned with everyone else. This is one of the rare instances where his keyboard mashing, which is all it is, just making random noises. But this is the first time since The Woman Who Fell to Earth that it actually worked. Not because he's a genius, just because it happened to fit this episode. So I will give it that. And apparently the rumors is Pete McTeague was also for a brief period this season acting as showrunner after there was a not proven, so this is just rumor, I'm not reporting this as fact, but at some point, and I think there's been enough to say that this probably happened, Chibs stormed off set. My feeling on it is it has something to do with the atrocity that we witnessed last week, but I wonder, we have to look at the production block, but I think McTeague might actually have been running as acting showrunner for this episode because we don't know how long Chibs was actually gone. So that may have had an impact as well.
Talking there about, it being atmospheric and kind of in that sense it might work, is that they've obviously taken elements that have worked previously. Like they've taken like the empty child with the gas mask, and they're like, oh wait, gas masks are kind of scary. Let's have a bunch of characters like that in it. Like we don't really know what's behind them, so like yeah, that'll be good. Flocks of birds that might suddenly swoop in and attack you. That's been done in horror movies before. Let's have that in. It's all stuff that you've kind of seen before, but like they've put it in because they can't really think of that much else to do. But it sort of works on that basic level.
Yeah, although bringing up the empty child, I'm actually depressed as hell now because it reminds us of how good this show used to be compared to what we just watched.
When it was truly creepy. The gas mask guys, I mean, it looked good enough and they were barely in it. And quite frankly, I just watched the episode and why did the birds attack again? The birds were infected, right? So they were the carriers of
Yeah.
Praxeus. Okay.
So Praxeus, is it called Praxeus? I can never remember the exact.
Yeah,
Praxeus. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So it got into them, and then they were attacking humans because they're rich in plastic, because we inhale microplastics, apparently. That's
I
that's
said
the best I
Praxeus because
can.
I'm thinking of Jedi Paxis.
Yeah.
That's the best I can understand it. And basically, they just come and go when the script needs them to. You know, sometimes they'll just flock around doing nothing in the sky for like a while, and then when the script decides they need an action scene, they'll swoop in and attack.
So, and then the cure took care of the birds. Are they? I guess they're still carriers, but everybody's cured because it went into the jet stream of the atmosphere with the heroic gay husband.
Yeah.
So
they didn't kill him, so we were all that's where we were wrong. We were all expecting that he was going to die, and then he didn't. But then again, he was still checklist, so he had the our ever popular plot armor.
I love that
like
aspect of it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, there's also we had a good laugh at the scene, and we were talking about it earlier, where where the doctor just leaves Yaz and their other woke friend behind and just takes off, and I'll be back in an hour. And I think it was you that was saying this, Gary, before we went live, where how long ago in the doctor's time did the Clara incident happen? So you were saying, is he just going to, well, she, whatever, is she just going to leave a companion aside like that, or just let her go? But I think it's because nobody involved with the show actually watched that episode, so that might have part to do with it. But even the doctor's character is not being consistent with what we had only a few seasons ago.
Yeah, the doctor's putting the companions in way too much harm's way and not worrying about it. And this is, again, fresh off of some pretty horrific things happening to companions just recently. They just forgot about that. That's that connective tissue that the show never felt like it had. Sorry, Critical, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's weird how she kind of forcibly disarms one guy as well when they're fighting their way out of the warehouse, and he's grabbed one of the laser guns and used it to actively kill some of the gas mask dudes to protect them. Then the doctor's like runs into him. She's like, "Oh, well done. That was great that you got them out." Grabs the gun off him and throws it on the fucking ground and tells them to run. Why? Just let him keep it. It's really useful. You can save people's lives with that. Or at the very least, you could then give it to Yaz so she can go back in there with a weapon to protect herself. She throws it away. Like, what the fuck?
It was a very subtle anti-gun message. Actually, you could make a checklist with this episode, how many little woke points were included in there. But yeah, they had to put the anti-gun thing in there.
No, it disguised in a less preachy, obnoxious episode, the most woke moments of any Doctor Who episode were in this. I mean, the checklist will be a mile long, and they hit it again within the first 2 minutes. And it's so obvious at this point. I want a quick reminder to everybody, because I think I forgot to do it at the beginning of the show. We are on a time schedule today. So we're all on strict schedules. So just a reminder for anybody who's just popping in, we can't go for 3 hours. Unfortunately, we're gonna cut it a little short. Not just yet, but just a reminder. Sorry, go on, guys.
I was also going to say, I noticed that when they first recover the astronaut, and the doctor's actually being really like respectful towards him, like, "Oh wow, you're an astronaut. That's so cool." It's like, wow, she's being respectful towards the white man. What's going on here? I'm surprised she's not criticizing his toxic masculinity. And then, sure enough, you find out he's gay. So it's like, oh, okay, that's obviously why we have to be nice to this guy, because he's somewhere on that checklist, you know. And it's just so off-putting. That's the attitude of it.
Well, there's also this is the first time where with the same white dude where the doctor actually scoffed at somebody after it's bigger on the inside than outline. We had a good laugh at that. And we even noticed right off the top within the first few seconds, the white kid being a thief and then the cop being an idiot.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so many. Okay. I mean, it's, again, you do these things once or twice an episode, but it's so noticeable in Doctor Who now. It's honestly, it's easier to pick out than a good story or any good plot elements.
Yeah, did you notice the point as well? It's just before the Asian diversity lady is about to get consumed by the virus, and the doctor's trying to reason with her, and she's like, "Look, we can work together to find a cure on this one. Two brilliant scientists working together." That's the exact terminology she uses. I was like, "You just had to get that in there, isn't it? The fact that you're both amazing, and you're both incredibly smart. We need to work together and support each other." It's like, oh, fuck off.
And she has a thing for scientists too, so they snuck that in there.
Yep. Because we need more women in STEM. That's what this is all about. Gotta do it. We'll do it through Doctor Who. Later Doctor Who that nobody's watching.
Yeah, you notice the other male scientist just gets eaten by the birds outside, because he's not far enough up the pyramid, I guess.
No, and that's where the show has progressed. You're right. That's where the show has progressed to all men are bad and disposable instead of just white men. So that's good. I mean, progress, not perfection. That's what we're looking for these days. So, the episode was average again. I just don't see this show getting better under Chibnall's reign. And for those of you who say we don't have valid criticisms, I'd say the general overall writing of this episode, structure of story, likability of characters, this is all in the writers, and that's where the problem has remained. Female doctor, freaking wokeness, check boxes can all be hidden or convincing with good writing, with talented writers who are aware of the show. Whether you were a big fan or not, it doesn't matter. But you have to be a fan of science fiction, of just basic science fiction or fantasy. It helps to have a history with this show. But, talent of writing, that's the problem. Always has been, always will be. And when you prioritize other things before you're writing, when you're not that good, it shows.
Yep. And here's a question, because we do this every week. What's your palate cleanser this week, Gary?
My palate cleanser this week, I'm going to go a little neoclassic. I'm going to watch The Empty Child.
Awesome. I'm doing The Visitation. Yeah. See, Drinker, this is what we do every week because this show is just painful. So we pick a classic episode to remind us why we like the story or why we once liked the show.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm going to classic Peter Davison.
That's brilliant. You know what? I'm gonna start doing quick reviews on my on Nerdrotic Live. If just like in my car, so I'll do like a Jeremy Carr video after I watch it too. So because it does feel better afterwards, it truly does. And it also, I mean, oh God, I did this with Picard too. Picard, the one good thing about Picard is it's made me go back and watch more Next Generation and some Deep Space Nine. And it's just like, oh, it's head shaking. It's just, oh my God. It makes you do this. Hang on. I got a little thing. Makes you do that. So let's get to the audience a little bit, guys. Do a little Q&A before we wrap things up. We got, oh my God, we got a huge crowd today. 2,400 people watching. So thank you very much. Please subscribe. I mean, I know you all have, but to the Critical Drinker, really somebody who understands what he sees and is just brilliant at laying out like what he thinks is good or bad about something, and really hammers the point home and does it very well and intelligently, which I don't, but I don't care. And Bowlestrek, who is just pure passion. I love it, but intelligent passion as well. Please subscribe to Bowlestrek, and we will go. And also give a shout out again to Starry-Eyed Girl, the third female doctor played by Starry-Eyed Girl. And Mary Ashmead is here too, and Mark Lozeth, and according to Christy and all the Modrotics. By the way, you guys were awesome last Friday. Last Friday we had a bit. I guess you guys had it after I left too. A bit of a.
I think I was telling Gary earlier, Drinker, that right after he left, we had a fun time in the chat. Well, it looks like as soon as our stream was over, the individual who shall not be named moved over to Gary's channel. So yep. I don't know why you'd have so much time on your hands, but if that's your thing,
it's dedication, man. It's real dedication.
It is.
Because it takes literally like 3 seconds to put the person in timeout, and then that's them done. Like, so
we found a good way to
their
fight.
boat.
Somebody hit us with a bot, and we found a good way to fight it, which was pretty funny. So if that pops up again, we'll just do the same thing, and we just have everybody in the chat hit F for, it was like 5 minutes in a row, and it did it. It took care of it. It was a little hard to communicate for a little while, but we just rambled. Syndek has Syndek, by the way, Syndek, go to syndek.com. Syndek does art. He did an awesome thing. Doomcock and I as the Pillars of Argonath from Lord of the Rings.
I saw that.
I think I saw that on Twitter, actually. Yeah. That was cool.
That was freaking cool. Norwegian Kryptonian for 22 Norwegian krona. It's krona, right, guys? You say crowns, krona? Is that what their money's called? Yeah, krona. Or coronavirus. Too soon? I'm sorry.
Too soon, yes.
You officially passed John Campia. Congrats. Oh, I did.
That is awesome, man, Cape.
Wow. Thank you.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Wow. As soon as I passed Geeks and Gamers, he said, I'm the leader of the fandom menace, and I am officially never going to be a leader of anything, not even of this channel. Mrs. Nerdrotic's the boss of this channel. Father Christopher Miller for $2. This show and a Hoover vacuum have so much in common. They both suck. Sometimes it's so much suck, Father Christopher Miller, who is a salty little priest he is. It's a singularity of suck, Father Christopher Miller. But we got to watch our language here, or we're all going to hell. Apocrypha for $1.99. Hail, Gary, will there be an Inquisition tonight? Yes, it's going to be after the Super Bowl. Thank you. The Dr. 14 Blu-ray reviews. Do you ever get super chats from the Dr. 14 Blu-ray reviews, Bowlestrek?
Yes, I believe I have.
They are funny.
Yeah.
Blue Peter is amazing, and I don't think and it's not woke. Okay. Have you ever seen Blue Peter, guys?
I watched it when I was a kid, but then I started drinking, and it's all blur after that. So yeah, it's been a while. I don't even know if it's still on. Is it?
Apparently it is. Yeah, no, it's the only Blue Peter I've watched is the segments that have been included on Doctor Who DVDs. But yeah, apparently it's still a thing. And it's on the BBC, so one can only guess what it's covering these days. I'm sure it's a mystery.
Michael Emersh for £5. Is that money good anymore? I heard your country left the EU. Is your super chat gonna bounce? I'm just kidding. Hail, thank you for the super chat. Hail, Gary. Hail, Drinker. Hail, Bowlestrek. Always glad to hear you guys. Greetings from Germany. Oh, he's in Germany. Oh, it's a euro, so you're fine. Yes, you got fans in all the wrong places. That's brilliant. And hey, happy Brexit Day. We were live on your show when it happened.
Yeah, we had a mini celebration.
Yeah, I totally forgot about it, and then the chat started going mental, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's happening at 11 p.m." Yeah.
So everything okay still?
Well, the sky didn't fall in. There's not rioting in the streets or anything. I was able to go to the shops today and buy food, so it's everything seems to be holding together.
Really, okay. I was being told that this was going to be another Y2K and the world was going to explode.
I know. Yeah, I'm still holding my breath. To be honest, we'll see.
You're so stunning and brave for fighting through that.
Well, I've got the food stockpiled and everything and the booze. So if the worst comes to the worst, I'm just going to shut myself away until like Brexit and the coronavirus overwhelms the rest of the society.
Yeah. Well, you got so much booze in your system. I don't think coronavirus would affect you.
No, you're actually, apparently alcohol kills the virus. So Drinker, you're fine. Gary and I are screwed.
Ooh.
But yeah, we're going to die.
Yeah, if I started drinking again, the channel might be a little more entertaining for a while, but it would go downhill real quick. TM Martin for $5. Hi, Gary and guests. You got to admit this episode's timing was on point as the mystery outbreak theme and today's coronavirus. It's nothing else. If nothing else, hashtag Brexit. I noted how insensitive this episode was for airing during the coronavirus and mentioning the word quarantine. So insensitive, guys.
That is true.
I was literally shaking.
So shaking. By the way, I'm checking my privilege. It's a little low. I have to go fill it up again.
Hmm.
It's just shrinking as time goes on. TM Martin again for $10. To Gary and Critical Drinker, do you agree that the Doctor always thrives on a wee bit of not bogged down by Team TARDIS? And if so, why doesn't Chib just drop him? Tolson Cole got another gig on AMC anyway. And that's for all three of us. Guys, what do you think of the companions?
Yes, wholeheartedly agree. There's like 3 of them. That's 3 too many at this point. Well, I suppose you could get away with 1, but like that's all the Doctor needs, is just one good companion to play off. But having Team TARDIS, like there's just too many of them. Most of the time they've got nothing to do, so they're just kind of stood around, and it's just really awkward. And yeah, you could probably drop Mandeep Gill quite easily, and the show would lose absolutely nothing. Like there is still a bit of chemistry between Ryan and Graham, so that's something. I still don't think Tosin Cole can really act, so yeah, there's too many of them, and I think they need to ditch it.
Yeah, and I think, well, we know the whole reason why we have 3 companions is they would never admit it, but they didn't have faith in Jodie Whittaker to carry the show by herself, and from what we've seen, she couldn't carry the show by herself. And the 3 companions, well, that's been disproven twice before, back during the original run, and when they tried it again with Peter Davison, John Nathan Turner admitted it was a crowded TARDIS, so that's why one of them got killed off. I think maybe 2 companions, that dynamic can work, but it works best with the Doctor and just a single companion, and the only companion really that's worth anything is Graham, but you can tell that Bradley Walsh just doesn't care anymore. He's checked out, which in itself is kind of funny to watch. You can tell he's not taking it seriously.
Yeah, this was probably the only episode that I've seen him in where he actually kind of acted a bit, but the rest of the time he just seems like he's struggling not to laugh. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, no, you could see that he's about to crack a smile in so many scenes, and I think he's not dumb. He knows what he's in the middle of, and he's there to. This season, Graham is the idiot, so I'm pretty sure he's clued into the fact that you are the court jester of Doctor Who.
You know what would be nice if one of her companions was actually genuinely smart or good at something, and that they would challenge her occasionally or know something that she doesn't know. But as it stands, like they're completely superfluous. There's no special skills they have that she doesn't.
Nope.
No, this is the worst set of companions, including Graham. For me last season, the only thing I cared about was Ryan and Graham's relationship and that whole arc. That was the only thing that felt somewhat real, and I thought it was a decent story within a bunch of crap. And I mean, like, I'm looking for the silver lining, but I think the 3 companions was proof that they had no faith in the female Doctor. They gave her less episodes, less screen times. I mean, many of us have said it over the course of time, and audiences aren't as dumb as these writers think they are. We see through this stuff, and the gimmick is wearing thin. And I said it in my last video that it wore so thin that they had to give it a bump. It's how sometimes you got a bump back in the old days, Bowlestrek, when you had a comment on a forum and you wanted to bump it a little bit. Yeah, that's basically what they had to do.
Yep.
Talons of Wayne Chang for 10 pounds. I've stopped watching. If they're going to retcon the timeline, I don't want to actually see it and have to have that mind worm ruining my enjoyment of the classic series. Still be here for the chat though. And before I go to you guys, I highly recommend that. If they're going to start retconning the past, like they did with Disney Star Wars, like they're doing with Star Trek Discovery, it does affect how you watch the stuff, no matter how much you don't count it. And Star Wars is ruined for me. So, because I watched the Disney trilogy. So I would recommend not watching it at all. And then that way you're fine. I don't know. What do you guys feel about that?
I think for me, it hasn't impacted the classic series because it's so removed from what's going on now. But having watched the Chibs era, it in many ways has ruined New Who for me, because I can watch, and I think series 1 is a work of absolute brilliance. And we're 15 years removed from that now. I can't believe it's been 15 years, but it's been 15 years. But even when I watch that, you try and put it out of your mind, but you can't help but see where this was going. which is why my palate cleanser is always going to be Classic Who for the next, well, God, we've only got 4 episodes left, thank God. But yeah, it's always going to be Classic Who because I don't know, maybe mentally I can put them aside. And even before this, there was always, even though it's a continuation, there's always been somewhat of a divide between Classic Who and New Who. But yeah, you can, my recommendation is if you love Doctor Who, if you love the era, if you haven't seen any Whittaker episodes, my suggestion at this point is just don't watch them. And then unfortunately, we did make Drinker watch them, and he hadn't watched since the Matt Smith years. So I guess that's my fault because I made that suggestion. So Drinker, yeah, sorry for ruining Doctor Who for you, buddy.
It's all right. I mean, for me, like I can kind of compartmentalize it in my head and almost decanonize what I'm seeing now and just think, yeah, it's just kind of a piss take and not really think too much about it. And it's the same with Star Wars. Like when I just look at the Disney trilogy, I can just now, with a bit of like distance from it, just be like, yeah, I don't care about it now. Like I've got no investment in it. I can go back and enjoy the originals and that's fine. And just not think too much about these new ones. And I think probably more and more people will do that over time.
Yeah, and at a time it might get better. The only reason I brought it up is I was in the gym the other day watching The Empire Strikes Back, and it did. First time I saw Luke, I'm all quitter. Saw Anakin, I'm all failure. It's just like, time heals all wounds, hopefully, and things can turn around. But I don't know if Doctor Who's going to survive that. I really don't. Nigel Mayo for 10 pounds. Great showrunners are forged in fire. It's the privilege of a lesser showrunner to light the flame. Looks like Chibs got the wrong franchise and decided to burn them all. Maybe.
Ooh, good comment. I like it.
Well said, Nigel. 619YZ for 5 pounds. Up there, the most undramatic, woke, and miserable episodes I've ever seen. Up there with the most undramatic, woke, and miserable episodes I've ever seen. Preachy, poor acting. So many visible ticked boxes. Yes. Doctor Who has been butchered. Rest in peace. Yeah. Well hung and dung for 5 pounds. Critical Drinker has been banned from every pub in Edinburgh apart from Weatherspoons in Leith. Is it Leith?
Leith, yeah.
Leith.
That works out all right, to be fair, because Weatherspoons are pretty much the cheapest booze you can get anywhere, so it's fine by me.
Is it like a chain or something? Or
yeah, it's a chain. They're all over the UK, but they basically move into an area and undercut everyone else. So all the other pubs in the region sort of go out of business wherever there's a Weatherspoons.
Nice.
Yeah, but if you want to get drunk cheaply, then it's the place to go.
Well, then I know where to take Mrs. Nerdrotic when I fly it over there in 3 short months.
Oh,
Very
nice
excited.
one.
Yes. Mega Nutribite for 2 pounds. Praxeus was like Torchwood Miracle Day's worst bits.
I wouldn't even give it that much credit outside of the way it ended, which I think RTD just didn't know how it ended. I actually like Miracle Day. If you just don't watch the last episode, you're fine. The closest you'll get in terms of terribleness in terms of Doctor Who would be season 24, and still that's Shakespeare compared to this.
We have to wrap up soon. I'm gonna go through the last super chat, see if anything's addressed directly to these 2 gentlemen. I don't want to rush through them, so I will do I have a makeup to do still, so I do apologize for this, but we're on a major. I am on a tight schedule today, so that will be up tomorrow on Nerdrotic Live. I'll leave this on the channel for most of the day, so just in case. And then when when it's done, it goes over to Nerdrotic Live, my live channel, where I put all the live stream, because live streaming kills the algorithm. Unfortunately, that's how YouTube has set things up. Although I went to a VidCon where they told us they want us to live stream more, and then it kills your channel growth. So I never understood that, but that's a fact on YouTube. Nettle Nerds for $5. Hey, Gary. Hail, Gary. Am I the only one who thinks that the jocks and the popular kids have been let loose in Hollywood and they are normifying nerd culture? No, you're not. This is a complete jock takeover. I don't know how the culture is. I don't know what the culture is in Canada and Europe. I imagine it's jocks is a bit like the class structure. They were the richer kids. They played the sports. They were better looking, and they picked on us nerds back in the 80s and the 70s when it was not cool to be a nerd. And it seems like they have taken over a little bit now that genre is cool. Certainly, Red Letter Media has brought that up. I brought it up. Yeah, it certainly looks that way. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
It's it's entertainment controlled by the elites, and that's it's like that here, but worse. Where it's kind of funny because the left keeps going on about the 1%. Well, the 1% is what's controlling left culture. So yeah, it is the jocks and the rich people.
Mark C, you were spot on. I love Mark C. For $5, you guys sound like battered wives. Glad you weren't beaten up today.
I don't know if
the thing about an abusive relationship is you often keep going back to it, and that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, we are doing that. I don't know. It's I guess I got beat up on Twitter, or that's what they think. So I keep going back to Twitter. So yeah, I'm an abused spouse of Doctor Who and science fiction and Twitter.
Mark, I love you, Mark. Long-time supporter of the channel. Been around a long time. Christian Basil for $5. Gary, definitely want folks to hear the legend of the traveling TARDIS radio show on iHeartRadio for our review. Thanks. You're welcome. And I have been on that show. And I was on that show with somebody, Christian, who said something very foul to our friend Noel, though. And I know Noel could be a little salty on Twitter, but calling him a failure in life and stuff like that was completely uncalled for. And I'm going to say it publicly. I think that was an unclassy, shitty move, dude. Yeah. So I will, and if I ever talk to that guy again, I will tell him to his face. So that's not how you treat people. If you don't like the show, fine. You could say why he doesn't like the show and all that stuff, but make a personal attack at somebody like that is, we see it every day, don't we now?
Yep. It is the way of things on Twitter.
Yep. So uncool. Last one. And we'll get to the rest later. For Captain Sinclair, thank you for the 99-cent donation. Digby Strawbridge, thank you for the £2 donation. Captain Sinclair for $4.99. Have some drink money on me, guys. I know Drinker's going to need it. Are your funds? Always. Gary and Bowlestrek, does the Doctor also have two brains? She referred to her gray matter in the plural in the Praxeus when she was mind-boggled. Hashtag. It's from Tia Martin for $5.
Sure
not that I know of
located.
Until now. Not until the Chibs era, but I'm sure he'd enter that in. I don't know. He may have gotten confused with the two hearts. His knowledge seems to go that deep.
Mary Ashmead sent the sticker, which is it's like a fox farting hearts. It's my favorite one. Thank you very much. I wish more things would fart hearts, like Doctor Who, instead of farting stories. But thank you for the $2, Mary. You're not supposed to. You're a mod. You're not supposed to give super chats. But thank you, everybody else. I truly apologize, but I have to get going. So we'll start with Bowlestrek, please. Final words, and then plug your channel.
Final words. R.I.P. Doctor Who. Only 4 episodes to go, and then this can go away for, with their work schedule, probably 2 years. So we can have a break. My channel, it's all positivity and rainbows. So I'm at youtube.com/Bowlestrek, Bowlestrek. Come and join in the fun.
Awesome. And Critical Drinker, final words, and please plug your wonderful channel.
Why, thank you, sir. So final words on Doctor Who. I'm enjoying the dumpster fire. It's great. It's nice to watch from a distance. In terms of my channel, I do movie and TV show reviews. I'm currently working my way through Star Trek Picard, and I'm probably going to review Birds of Prey when it comes out, because that seems like a laugh.
Oh, yeah. I'm all over that one, too.
Yeah, so it's good fun. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, don't.
Hey, thank you for the 1917 recommendation. Saw it last night. It was freaking great. Fantastic movie. Please see that movie.
I will be watching that based on your recommendation as well. So that I'll be probably seeing it at some point next week.
Excellent. Thank you to the Modrotics. I do apologize to the leftover super chats again. Sorry on that one. Try not to make a habit of it. I'm going to sneak one in. Jim Digler for $10. What if Thrawn creator and Star Wars writer Timothy Vaughn took a cut at Doctor Who? Not at the current Doctor, but if he renewed, she regenerates. We're old friends, fans lament what's happened. Sure, I would take anybody, Jim, at this point, other than Chris Chibnall. My personal choice would be Jamie Matheson taking over the show in the modern era, but Timothy's on. Sure. I don't think he would stoop so low, though. And I think that's part of the problem is as we go, I think the BBC is such a pain in the ass to deal with, even people who agree with them, like Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat. When you see them exiting Doctor Who, look at how happy they are. Look at their interviews. They looked relieved. They looked just utterly, I put in my last video, somebody asked Russell T Davies if he comes up with Doctor Who ideas, and he just answered, no. Just no. He's done.
Well, look at how much they aged during their brief runs. Look at Stephen Moffat. He aged, I'd swear to God, 15 years while he was running the show.
No, and we'll leave it there. So thank you so much, please subscribe to these great YouTubers. Everybody have a great day, and not all who wander are lost.